Honeybee, here we are. Thank you for your time. How is life all in all?
Life is a lot of things right now. It's very full, very full. I just arrived back in Los Angeles from being gone for some time, and it's taking some time to acclimate and be readying myself for new energies that are present here and that are different for me than when I travel.
Yeah, you've been spending a lot of your time in Jordan, yeah?
Yes, my beloved second home. Oddly,
Yeah,
oddly, my
please
second
tell us
home.
all about how has your experiences been there? I mean, it looks incredible and sounds incredible what you've been doing over there. Please describe your experiences over there.
Let me get cozy for a
Yeah.
second. Um, I started traveling to to the Middle East maybe 4 years ago, and wow, it's so exciting to be somewhere that there is such dense energy and to watch in these last 4 years to literally get to watch from the inside the light open and shine. And it's an exciting time in the Middle East for sure. So I feel really grateful to have been called to be over there. It wasn't something that I planned at all. This was never, well, maybe that's not true. My soul definitely knew the trajectory of my path. And just to let you and the listeners in on, about 12 or 13 years ago, I met Mark Whitwell for the first time. And Mark was sharing with me that he was doing the Heart of Yoga in the Middle East to teach women yoga. And I thought instantly, I want to go to the Middle East. My background is Lebanese. I want to go and help my people. And it wasn't until 8 years after the fact that I got an invitation that said, hey, can you come help me teach yoga to the women in the Middle East? And I was thinking, well, I guess, yes, that's a yes. I mean, it wasn't a guess. It was 100%. This is where I'm supposed to be. So over the years, I have been spending more than half my years there. Now starting to travel a little bit into Palestine and into Israel and also into Lebanon, which is so lovely for my heart. And just teaching and supporting the women and men over there.
Beautiful. You were saying the energy has felt thick. To elaborate on that, how has your experience been of the kind of thickness of energy into what you're describing, a kind of blossoming, it seems?
Jordan, of all the countries in the Middle East, is the safest country. It's protected by a lot of different factors, and it's a safe place for people to explore who they are and kind of to push the edges a little bit. When I first started arriving there, we only had 4 yoga studios in the whole country of Jordan. And now, 4 years later, there's sound baths and cacao ceremonies and hundreds of yoga studios and teachers all over the place. And it's a very short turnaround. But as you know, the Middle East has had conflict for thousands of years, and more so in the last 60 years since the development of some of these countries and some of these really, really intense separations and a division of me versus you or us versus them. And now we're finding that a lot of people are really opening up into their artistry, and there's a really creative, beautiful pulse of people that are really shining and waking up within themselves. And it's an exciting time to be in the Middle East. It's an exciting time to be there.
So yeah, I feel deeply called as well, having Jewish blood running deep in my blood, old Palestine, old Israel, and I haven't been. I haven't been. We keep we keep doing our kind of circuit of the Americas and so forth and Asia, but I haven't been. So I do feel a deep calling, and I'm intrigued, really deeply intrigued into your experience.
Please come anytime. You all are so welcome. And Israel is such a beautiful land. There's a lot of really amazing things going on there, beautiful communities. And so it's taken a little bit longer for Jordan, but Jordan's on the fast track.
Mm-hmm.
So fun.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be nice to talk even more about the value of pilgrimage, because we, in many parts of the world, in Venice, in Perth, almost everywhere, Jordan now, yoga studios are popping up left, right, and center. Nearly every spiritual methodology is available at our fingertips, which is all great. It's beautiful. But I think also, especially with our phone and having almost all information at our fingertips, it seems that readily available time, the teachings just right here, readily available, can build up a kind of dullness, I think, a complacency. So I really do see the value as well in getting out of our familiar territory and going on pilgrimage and really immersing deep in other cultures. Could you speak a little bit more about your perception of that?
Yeah, from my personal journey, it started in 2003 when I was going through a big, explosive inner experience, a breakup, a real questioning of who I am. And I thought, okay, I want this renunciate feeling, like get rid of everything. And I just cruised down to Costa Rica because at the time it was the safest country that I knew of, where I spoke the language and I felt like I could navigate my way around. I traveled by myself for 6 months, and in that time, life changed. Life changed a lot, from the habits that I was holding on to the old stories that I was carrying around with me. I was more courageous than I thought I ever would be. It really stretched me in amazing ways, and now as time has gone on.
What is that beep, by the way? It's quite I don't think I've heard that particular beep.
I think the spirits are saying yes. I'm not sure.
It's almost like a singing bowl, but like an electronic one. Keep going.
I don't know how to stop that. So it's felt definitely like, for me, travel has been a very deep way that I can connect to my soul. That being said, I'm currently in my own 40-day sadhana. I created many years ago a 40-day, I call it the self-love tour. And I'm about 22 days in, just over half right now. And I think that for people who can't really get away or can't really take the time from family or from work, there is a way to have that same level of pilgrimage. It just takes some more effort because you're combating all your familiar experiences of your own life, Yeah. But it's definitely a way to adjust and to look at the self and where can I up level my game in this area and in that area, and how will this affect that? And for example, I have been on and off my whole life with meditation practices. It's not really my favorite thing to do, sit still and close my eyes. I do it on occasion, but this 40 days, I realized the energy that was moving around me and through me was so strong that I needed to find a still place inside, not so that I could stop what was happening, but just so that I could really be in a better place to take care of myself and my needs. And I could really resource the parts of me that were needed for whatever was coming forward for me. So pilgrimage, amazing. Yes. Travel, go and see sacred sites, sit on land where the ancients have blessed. And then you get to realize all land is sacred. all sites are sacred. It's just how we hold it. And so I'm a big proponent of both the inner travel and the outer travel. I mean, we're here to learn who we are and to find out where real home is.
Yeah, beautifully put. And I think for many of us, the deepest work, the deepest pilgrimage is right here where we are. And we've been doing it for so fucking long, of running from right here, you know, like Ram Dass says, and like I often bring up, you think you're enlightened, go hang out with your parents, you know. So it's right here, the deep pilgrimage.
Where's our bing? That's true.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. And it's so seductive to keep escaping, to keep buying that next plane ticket and go there for the high, you know, because it's beautiful. I get a beautiful feeling as well. And Joe and I often talk about this interesting energy here in Perth. Like, it's so comfortable and it's so beautiful, and we have such glorious community and family. Like, it's really beautiful. Yet there is this peculiar thickness. Like, it's not a war-torn place. It's not any of that. But there's this other kind of thickness that could be exactly what we're kind of speaking to, of that deep familiarity, that deep kind of family sadhana. I don't know. It's mysterious to both of us, but we find, like, it's so beautiful. It's so much freedom, like, apparently. Yet this, well, I mean, that's a big discussion as well. There's been a lot of heavy racism here and all that kind of thing that's kind of pushed to the side. It's not blatantly obvious. Like in the education system, it's not apparent. It's kind of been very neatly, conveniently, inconveniently, whatever way you look at it, hidden away, you know? That could be part of the thickness, this kind of ignorance, or this kind of, I don't know, but we do observe, like, holy shit, like, we're here for a certain amount of time, and then this something arises of some deeper work to do. So yeah, I couldn't agree more that the pilgrimage can be right in our own household, you know.
Yes. Oh my God. And I think that we all have this intuitive, innate sense. And I feel like we are always being guided when it's time to do our inner work. Now, whether we listen or not, that's up to us. You know, we do have that freedom of choice. And when we, you know, for me, coming back to LA, the energy here is like, you've spent enough time here. It's like, go, 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 do, and da. And it's sort of not my way anymore. I've been more accessing the flow state and been more allowing and been more relaxed. And then I get into this environment, and all of a sudden I'm finding myself like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. And where's my next thing? And where's my next class? And what am I going to teach? And just to take a breath. And this is why I started my 40-day sadhana, because I thought, okay, this is not what I'm not comfortable in my skin here, because I'm trying to meet an energy that doesn't feel good to me any longer. It's okay that it's there. That heaviness is there for us to look at and to love and to see whatever it is. But these times, it's like our practice is so invaluable. Nothing else matters for me right now. It's like I'm getting up every morning and I'm doing my practice, and I keep increasing the practice because life has gotten a bit intense. So I want to meet myself in a good way where I can be that stable. So whatever the energy is that I run into, whether it's thickness or this kind of like LA, I don't know if everybody else feels it, but
oh yeah, it's a full-on place without a doubt.
Yeah, and it makes my nervous system frazzled. You know, so I've got to take extra care here. I mean, it's similar, obviously. In Jordan, my nervous system used to be very stressed and frayed. I'm getting more used to the energies there, and I'm seeing more of the beauty and the joy. that's coming out of it so I can relax. But I also know that I can only spend X number of months and then I have to leave. Mm-hmm. So I can go in and do work and then, and this takes a certain, the navigation is a really important part of the process, I find. Mm-hmm. You know, listening to the direction, and our souls are always telling us, turn left, go talk to this person, go. It's always happening. And I feel like these practices are there to help us to clean so we can listen and hear what's actually being called.
Totally. Now, for your 40-day sadhana, do you have like a map of what you do for that 40-day sadhana, or is it an intuitive dialing in each day of what you're doing?
Yes, it's a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. I have a foundational practice, which is simple: morning yoga, meditation, making the bed with blessing. You know, I bless my guides every morning, saying thank you for helping me have a restful night, and asking them for, you know, just like things like this so that I'm connecting with the invisibles. I do my physical practice. I do my breath work. I work on the bottom 3 chakras because I find for myself, it used to be very easy to live up here in the light. Mm-hmm. And I'm more interested in embodiment and what that feels like to be human. And so I've got my Kundalini silver triangle, my hip
circles. Yes, your famous hip circles. It's got to be done. It's so good for us.
We'll do some. Should we do them now?
Let's do some. Okay, I got my headphones on.
So,
for those of you just listening, we're going to do just like a minute of hip circles. You can even do it if you're sitting like in a car. You can even do it then somehow.
Okay, so I'm here, you're there. Now we're going to go circling the hip. So I made this big joke for everybody doing hip circles as we move our bodies. But I really believe we can pause the hip circles until later, friends. You guys can all do your hip circles.
Okay. But thank you.
Yeah, just loosen things up.
Yeah.
I have a real sense that this planet needs work on second chakra. This is what I've been watching, witnessing, noticing. And hip circles are directly in support of opening up the second chakra. Mm-hmm. So while everybody thinks it's really cute and funny, you can do your hip circle video and tag me. Hashtag hip circles. I don't know, or tag me, whatever. I don't care. I just want everybody to do hip circles on the planet, you know?
For sure. I mean, I think it's blatantly obvious, the radical imbalances in that area, which we've still got a lot of collective work to do. But even just, individually, it wouldn't be a far stretch to say that nearly everyone does have at least some kind of trauma in there, or blockage, or even just dullness. It's so therapeutic to bring movement there and loving attention.
Money, creativity, fear, control, emotional body. I mean, this is what is in the second chakra. This is what we're all working with. And this is definitely, collectively, we're stuck there. Most individuals also have issues there. So, and I'm watching. I'm also, just to speak to some major thing that's going on with this Me Too campaign. I had sexual abuse as a child, and as a very young child. And I'm still working through my healing process with that. And I realize what has happened is that we've taken this first stage, which reveals a lot of anger, which is part of the healing. And it's kind of like this pendulum swung, and now there's a lot of anger going on. And I feel a part of my path and my process is to support people and taking that anger and doing their inner work so that they can come into a more balanced place. When you're in a balanced place, it doesn't necessarily mean that what the other person has has done to you or to someone that you love is a good thing. But it's that then I can make a decision from a place of balance on how we move forward together in this healing. You know, I'm a big believer that hurt people usually will hurt people. And it's these unresolved issues that haven't been looked at that create a lot more chaos for the collective, for the individual. And I'm just a huge proponent as of late for people learning how to resource their own breath and boundaries in their bodies, and learning about these different ways that we can connect with another in a good way, and the ways that when it doesn't feel good to have discernment and when to step away, and so that everybody's accountable. I mean, we're all in this together. So I guess I like what happened with the Me Too campaign because it happened. I mean, there's nothing really to say about it, but except for that it's a part of the healing. It's not the whole healing. It's just this revelation. And now we're seeing all these people screaming. Mm-hmm. That's the same energy as the sexual assault. It's just the same, different side. So I'm a big proponent right now. We got to dive in and do our inner work and love the parts of ourselves.
Yeah, that's huge. And thank you so much for sharing. And I think a lot of people can relate to that as well. It feels like possibly the initial stage of healing is finding the voice.
Yes.
Getting angry, expressing and releasing, feeling your empowerment.
Yes.
And then you start to see the community, the kind of movement behind it. And I mean, it seems that when we run out of anger, like we tend to push it to its edge. You know, any kind of social activism type movement is often done with anger in the equal kind of polarity to what we're fighting against. And then that it kind of runs out of steam, doesn't it? Like it only can get so far.
It will burn out.
Burn out. People get exhausted, and it gets revealed that, holy shit, like, I think the Me Too movement, it seems like it has gotten somewhere. It's gotten some movement and community, and it's been a crucial step in the collective healing in that arena. And then that shift into what we're speaking of, into the heart, really. It's a huge shift. And to do it collectively as well. Yeah, I mean, conversation like this helps. More and more conversation like this seems to be happening. I do keep hearing it again and again, especially coming from people that have had sexual trauma and can intimately speak to the predicament of it. You know, it's easier said than done for so many. Like, yeah, sounds good, but... So it's deep work, you know. For most people, it requires support, community, and a daily practice, right? What do you think?
Yeah, practice, and also, the place I'm at right now is to bring patience to it also, because essentially it's energy, right? The energy inside, the energy gets violated in some way, and then the other energy rages up, and then it's fire here, and then it's fire there, and the fire together will burn out. That's just what it does. So I notice for myself when I'm triggered, just going back to the importance and the value of inner work and doing it with someone who you trust can really hold your hand, is when I'm feeling a rise of fire in my body, I know it's something for me to look at. So I know it's not the time for me to send that letter or to make that phone call, or, bless these phone operators, the cable operator, whoever, or the Wi-Fi people on the other end of the phone, because they often get a lot of people's unconscious anger. Just like, what do you mean you're going to charge me this much money, or road rage, or we act out in an unconscious way. And actually, it takes a lot of courage and patience to be with yourself and to sit inside the fire. which is, I have been going through this, a new level of this over these last several weeks. And it has been like, wow, okay. And I was getting triggered left and right for things that it did not make sense to I was like, okay, that should not have raised this much energy inside of me. So I did, the only thing I knew to do was get back to my practice and do my inner work. And I also gave pause to some relationships or some events or situations where I felt like, all right, I don't really need this right now. Right now, I just need to focus here. And I really want to go inside and see who needs me. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people deal with this. And my thing is that I would be so afraid of my rage or anger, but it was set in place as a way to protect me as a child. I wasn't heard. My voice wasn't heard as a little kid. So I needed to speak my voice, which a lot of people are doing. But in speaking my voice, it's not just about speaking it to you, but it's about me listening to me. And there's this little girl inside that is still so afraid. She's afraid to be abandoned. If she's angry, she's afraid to be rejected if she's not smiling all the time. And so the real work goes to this. It still is alive. This little 3-year-old that went through this experience 40 years ago, I still need to let her know that I'm never going to leave you, baby. So this is the part of the process that I feel it's invaluable for us. We can project and say, you did this, or she did that, or he did that. But at the end of the day, it's like, who's speaking and who needs my attention? And when I can shift that, if I can shift my perspective to pushing out, to pulling in, I can actually heal these things and these traumas inside. And then I can be a better stand for justice, or a better stand for balance or harmony or peace. The thing that I'm fighting against, which I'm with Gandhi, like he never went to there's like a anti-war. He only went to things that were pro-peace or and I feel the same way. We need to go towards what we want instead of against what we don't. It's a delicate balance being human, but my God, the gold is inside. If I could scream to the rooftops, like, go inside, you're so precious, and get there, and I can help you, or whoever you need, like, find support. Mm-hmm. It's invaluable, this inner work.
Yeah. So the self-love, going deep in, giving yourself that tender hug like you described, and really getting real with that, paying attention to it. And then what are your views on then, when you've got the strength, the clarity to then love on that person that did you harm, to love on them and truly do that inner work? What are your views on that? Is there a time and a place to then face that person? Maybe not literally, but more of a contemplative mode of prayer,
Yeah, I don't know that there's an exact recipe that is the same for every person. So I had an experience that really shifted things for me. And I will never forget this. In 2008 or 9, we had a young man in Venice who was 20 years old, and he raped and murdered a pregnant woman and one of the neighbors. I didn't know these people, but I remember it was in my neighborhood. And I remember looking online at this young man's face, and I just thought to myself, my God, what happened to you that made you think that this was going to be a good idea? Because I could feel how much pain he was going to have to go through because of what his choice was. And it's the same feeling that I have for the man who, he was a young man who sexually assaulted me. He was 13 years old. He was a child, you know, and looking back at what this child, he changed the course of my life for sure. He changed my family dynamic. This event changed everything that I knew. And bless his heart, he was the son of a heroin addict who was at the time living with her drug dealer boyfriend. And God knows what was happening in that household, that he made that choice, that was a good idea for him. Now, I wrote him a letter years later. And I told him all about my life. And I was at a place where I was in a grateful place, because I had done so much deep inner work that I could see, well, this man, he really taught me about my boundaries in a very backwards way, but he taught me how to know about my body. He taught me when I leave my body. I'm very aware now that I can leave when I'm afraid, and now I have to work to stay present. But that level of compassion, I think it comes when it does, and I don't think that people need to force it or bypass the healing process. And it is inevitably true that something has happened to give that person an idea that this might be something of benefit for their life, where it just doesn't make sense to me. And I have just so much compassion. I mean, my God, this young boy that did this to me, bless his heart. I don't know what kind of trauma he has experienced since then because of what he chose to do. Rehabilitation, okay. Sometimes people have to go and serve time or do this or that, but we really need to come back into a place of more equanimity and more balance in this way. And, you know, it's very personal to me right now. We're going through something in our community in Los Angeles, and I'm really just watching how people are handling their unresolved sexual traumas and how it's all been put into one area. And it's a very dramatic sentence that this man is receiving from something that I don't know exactly what happened, but it just feels like we need to come back into balance. So the fires are going, they're strong right now. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot. It's been a lot for me also to revisit these past sexual traumas while other people are just starting to open up about their own. And I feel really stable and strong in my position of compassion and not forgetting the inner work. So I don't know what the recipe is. I wish there was a pill, or it could be like, you'll forget this whole thing ever happened. But you really have to dig in, because the nuances can be so subtle about how something like this affects us. And most times, trauma, it happens before age 7. The psychologists have studied. So before age 7, most everything is set in place with the children. And then everything after is a repeat of that pattern, which is very common. Why we have the same boyfriend with a different face, or the same relationship with our boss, or our whatever it is, you know, that you learn as a child. That's how that inner child operates in the world, which is why that super sweet hug to that little one is of the utmost importance.
Yeah. When you said, I wish there was a pill, it just sparked, I've been hearing a lot of very sophisticated conversations around a lot of the new studies around working with these types of traumas with psychedelics in a very supported psychotherapeutic fashion, which was done decades ago, but then it got taken what seems too far, and then it got heavily illegalized and all that kind of thing. And now it's kind of coming full circle. And they're revealing that a lot of successful healing is being done in this very supported format, using psilocybin, using other psychedelics, using MDMA, which is very exciting, you know, to see that come full circle, because doing it just on our own, just with our own psychology, is so fucking challenging. And it can be done, especially with a bhakti practice or a sophisticated tantra practice or a really good thorough yoga practice, it can be done, but our mind is so strong and our chemistry is so mysterious and it's so,
Tricky.
yeah, but these psychedelics have such a power to kind of override our conditioning and get us into a mystical experience. Not tangibly, but I mean, it's interesting it getting done in the scientific realm where they can literally measure it and study it and see what's going on when one enters these love, compassionate states and is able to really create huge transformation. So that's exciting because it looks like kind of there might be a pill to help the process,
Still, there is the pill, quote unquote, and there's still the inner work that needs to be done.
Yes.
So the inner work that needs to be done is just a little different when we're taking a medicine or being supported in that way. But you can have those same experiences by, chanting or by opening yourself up to a beautiful location in nature or something. But there is something very significant about these medicines that are here to help. And I really find it fascinating. I just recently watched a documentary on psilocybin and they were testing, maybe you saw this, they were testing the different parts of the brain that were lighting up and talking about the therapeutic model. And there still is somebody there and they're still communicating and they're still processing very similarly. But what the mushroom does or what the different medicines do was it will actually take you into that compassionate place a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Although you have to deal with your resistances and all these things. But if you feel safe, then you'll allow yourself to drop in. Oftentimes some of the work that I'm doing now, it seems like a psychedelic experience. And basically people are with me for an hour to 2 hours and we just breathe. And as soon as the body is relaxed, then they can go and look inside the body and see what's stuck. And if there's enough faith and trust in themselves and the container that's being created, these people can have these kind of openings and really get to a place of healing. It's the one step. And then the second step is when you come out of these experiences, whether on using a medicine or whether using, breath work or whatever, it's like the second step is the integration. Because these old patterns and old habits have a way of niggling and being like, hi, I'm still here. And you're like, well, I thought I got rid of you in that session. And, I'm still here. So we really have to kind of like, okay, well, what's the next protocol? Well, here's how I'm going to use my practice. And I'm going to use all these other things as we do to integrate and to create the next level of who we are in a bigger version.
Yeah, the integration piece is huge. No matter what method one is choosing, whether it's a medicine journey or a therapist or yoga or whatever, that integration piece, because what's so prevalent is us becoming addicts to our method, addicts to the
Second chakra.
Yeah,
Added.
exactly. So waiting for that next medicine journey or waiting for that next orgy or waiting for that next whatever. It can be applied to anything, but when it's got a spiritual tag, it's very easy to, it kind of gets validated. And I've found myself doing that time and time again, because if it is a healthy thing, it seems fine. But that integration piece is where it gets really... where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, and it's really challenging, but that's where the conversation is needed. I'm hearing that again and again, coming up in nearly every podcast, and
Super.
Yeah, just getting honest with that, because I've also had a tendency to want to leave the body, again and again, and it to me became revealed that it was very similar to my my drug taking days of just like waiting for the weekend to leave the body and get out of my mind and get shit faced and have a peak experience. It became very similar, and then you re-enter the body and quote unquote back to reality, and it just became really obvious, the disassociation, the kind of addiction to getting out of my body. So I can really relate to that as well, which I'm sure a lot of people can.
And I feel like as we evolve in our own consciousness, it is something that happens where we trade up our addictions.
Yeah.
But the addiction remains, like you're saying, and we see it a lot in the medicine community. People are like clamoring for the next ceremony, and I am wondering often, what are you doing since the last? Like, what have you done differently in your life, and are you doing anything differently? Because to travel to these other realms is quite exciting, and it's something extraordinary that you can experience. And I don't know if it's as necessary. The way it's being utilized, I don't know. I'm not here to judge it or to critique it, but it just brings a level of question to me of like, okay, I do feel like there's other ways. So how are we really living on the planet, and how are we, with our neighbors?
Yeah.
Or on the phone with the stranger? Like, am I still blasting the poor telephone guy because my phone bill, whatever, That was my old way for sure. These poor people on the phone. I was like, I don't know. This is too much.
Yeah.
So,
I get reminded of some of the stories of Maharaji interrupting people's highs, interrupting their disciples' highs. Like they'll be wanting the next, Shaktipat hit or Samadhi. And he was renowned for again and again interrupting people's high and go and serve, go and feed everyone, go and clean, go and do this. And that was his sadhana for the most part. They would be doing their chanting, doing their meditation or whatever, and he would start throwing bananas at them like, okay, time to really go do your practice. And I was deeply... Yeah. Which I love. I love the little rascal in him that... Yeah, reminding everyone where the real work is.
Yeah.
Now you've got a deep connection with Maharaji. I'd love to know more, and I'd love the listeners to hear where that began. Where did Maharaji come into your life, and when?
I met Maharaji probably in 2006. Not that long ago. And I was in my high and mighty phase of, why do you need a guru anyway? I don't need a guru. Who needs a guru? And actually, I also really feel strongly that I am not 100% sure if I would ever have been so weird. It's still so strange for me. If I knew Maharaji as a human, I'm not sure he would be in the same position in my life where he is now. Oh. Because I have trouble sometimes seeing the human aspect doesn't always inspire me. I want to go directly to the source, which has always been my way. And now I just happen to have this cute little old guy, or he's not around anymore, but as one of my greatest allies. So I'm at a kirtan one night at a friend's house, and it's my first time at their house, and I've had a couple of mystical experiences within kirtan, seeing a lot of beautiful images and Ganesh showing up in the middle of the room and hanging out with my grandparents that have been deceased for 20 years. And I'm already really feeling the bhakti in my blood. And I see this big, big photograph of Maharaji, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so like, I'm still sometimes this way, but I'm just like, come on, what do you guys need this old guy for? I mean, what's he going to do for you anyway? This kind of attitude. And his really beautiful friend just comes up to me and he said, I mean, I didn't make this big statement, but I asked him, I'm like, I don't really understand, because isn't the guru within? And isn't that what we're really trying to do? And he said, you're really blessed if you don't need a guru. That's all he said to me. I thought, okay, whatever. That was kind of a nice jowl that I received. And in the weeks coming, I dreamed of Maharaji 3 times. And not a very vivid dreamer, usually. And these dreams were extremely vivid. And each time he said nothing, and he pulled me under he wears this cute little plaid blanket, and he pulled me under his blanket. And under that blanket, so much love, like a love that I hadn't experienced or abled myself to receive. And I'm not even sure to this day, what's this relationship about? You know, he didn't offer a lot of, so there's not a lot of tangible, except for stories of him. And a lot of the stories of him that I know are through Ram Dass and his love for Maharaji. And through Ram Dass's love for Maharaji, opened a door to receive so much beauty from this character, where I'm under his blanket all the time, you know. And if I ever, wow, it's just a lot. If I ever feel like I need support, I have my mother, which is Divine Mother, and I have Baba. And these 2 energies feel one and the same, and they feel so complete together. And I can yell at him and call him mean names, and he doesn't care. And I can boss him around, and I can ask for help. And when it's coming from a sincere place, he delivers. I don't know if we need a guru. I don't know if that's part of the way or part of the undoing of what's happening right now, but I feel so blessed and so just deep, deep gratitude for this relationship with this invisible being that feels so comfortable. So even Stu, you'll get a kick. But the other day I was looking for a roommate, trying to fill the hive. You know, I got an extra space here, and I'm kind of getting frustrated. And the first of the month is coming, and my Bhakti brother is here, and he was like, just tell Maharaji to do it. And I looked at it on my altar, and I was like, yeah, Baba, get off your ass and do this. I'm like, time is ticking. I need somebody now. That morning I wake up, there's a message from a woman, blah, blah, blah. She's also a Maharaji devotee. She says to me, I just asked Maharaji for help last night, and I just start crying. And I said, wow, he messaged her. Like, that's like Instagram on crack or something. I don't know. It's like full on telepathy happening, and just made me feel so good to know that these invisible beings are really alive and willing to support us. Now, if it's true that Maharaji had a hand in it, I believe that because I'm a believer. It also could be that putting that much faith in something relaxes my nervous system. And when my nervous system is relaxed, then I amplify my frequency to where I'm actually attracting these other things that are seeking me. One or the other, I don't mind. Whichever it is, I'm in love. So I'll take it.
That's so beautiful. And that's really refreshing to hear, actually, huh? Like, you're a believer, you're a devotee, yet you don't seem extreme about it. You know what I mean? Like, some people are a devotee, they're a believer, and then it's like the fundamentalism creeps in, you know? Like if you're not a believer, you're going to hell. That old story can creep in so subtly and so obviously as well.
But this is what I've been so excited about lately is my studies of the body and the nervous system. Because like I said, I used to travel super far out to go find myself. And now I want to travel super far in. It's the same distance. But I'm finding so much joy knowing this body and really understanding the nervous system. And, you know, the chakras, I'm sure you know this, but this is something that I just learned. The chakras are a bundle of nerves in the body, and they actually open up when they're relaxed in the number of petals that we see in the lotus flower, but the bundles will open up into 16 little bundles, so it looks like a lotus. So all of these technologies.
Well, the chakras correspond with the nerve ganglia, right? It's not that they are the nerves, they correspond.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so the nerves are physical, and then the chakras are the subtle, but they correspond, which is incredible.
I mean, I'm just fascinated by this because these are. I'm just learning and deepening into understanding these technologies that I've just been a believer. So I'm like, well, I just feel great. And now I'm like, why do I feel great? What is going on inside this physical body that, you know, moves me spontaneously or wants me to wake up early and do practice? Or the body is really such a cool vehicle.
Yeah.
Such a cool vehicle. Wow. So that's been my latest diving. Like, want to go in.
Yeah. I mean, having a map or an understanding of like the central axis of nerves and the chakras is really, really powerful, because like with all this focus being on the physical body, which is great, it's good to move and strengthen and stretch the body. But when we can get breath and attention and good quality movement and sound pumping up and down those central bundles of nerves and chakras, I mean, it's so powerful and can so, like you spoke about in your sessions, you feel it get into quite a psychedelic space every now and then. And that's what it can really feel like when these kind of flowers, so to speak, of these bundles of nerves open, then prana can flow. All these chemicals of serotonin and even DMT and like can flow. And then we can flow and we can finally think clearer and be more present. But trying to think clear and trying to be present and trying is often done from that place of a contracted nervous system. So to do these practices, to let it all flower, and that can be done through chanting, or it can be done through psychedelics, or it can be done through your hip circles. It can be done in so many different ways. And then, here we are.
And then it's flow. You know, for me, it seems like, and the way the Hawaiians see it is that we are this container, and the energy comes down, and then we offer it back up in this perfect cycle, receive and then give. And it doesn't necessarily mean when you're in flow that everything is like super great and everything feels I'm on the flow state, which is cool, super sweet that we feel that way. And it also for me means that I'm centered, because life is challenging. But if I'm centered, the energy still might move through, and then I'm able to handle this challenging experience or this beautiful experience. And then I'm able to make things a little bit more easeful for myself. But it's just this central channel, the Sushumna. It's really so important to be in that center. I mean, this for me feels like the main practice, period, for me. Yeah. It's like kind of centered as I go through this or that. Whereas in the past, I might have held on really tight to some of the ecstatic experiences and like, don't leave me, this is so fabulous, or a challenging drama, and then like get looped into like going in a downward spiral. So practice, practice, practice.
Practice. I mean, that ecstatic high is so seductive. And it's so interesting because when you're in your center, like truly in your center, truly in the flow, the mind is quiet, the heart is open. There is a really undeniable blissful quality to it, but it seems completely different to the polarized high, to the brief exaltation kind of thing. The centered bliss, it feels different. It has no opposite. It has no
That's right.
up, no down. Whereas that high that most of us are accustomed to, so it feels good. It feels great.
And a contraction always comes, right?
Yeah.
Place of real bliss, of infinite ananda, this space holds everything.
And I guess for one to like familiarize with that takes practice. You can read about it, and if you haven't experienced like the different dimensions of our being, it's just kind of conceptual babble. So the ultimate thing is practice. Look within and go check it out. Check out the differences and the different dimensions, because otherwise we're just talking shit and conceptualizing it all,
Yeah.
So if anything, if someone, I'm kind of speaking from the vantage point, if someone's like, well, that sounds good, but I can't put my phone down, and I'm addicted to this constant flow of stimuli, which is the common predicament right now. People are chronically distracted, and it's like, I want to practice. So the first thing is like loving discipline, right? Put your fucking phone down and do what your current practice is, or reach out to someone like you, or reach out to a local teacher. Like, first thing is loving discipline, which we need so much right now with these beautiful little smartphones and all of that, to put them down and get in touch with what is beyond that feedback. Because what seems to be going on, and what a lot of scientists are validating as well, like this constant influx of feedback, of like and dislike and comments and is like dulling our receptor sites for
real connection
and a real flow of serotonin and all that, because we get little hits of serotonin when we see that someone's liked or someone's commented, and then we get those little negative hits of cortisol and shit, adrenaline, when someone like, I don't know, dislikes or gives a shitty comment or something like that, or we don't get a like. Or so people are used to that feedback of like either a little bit of a high, which is such a shitty high, but it is like giving a little bit of dopamine, and then that little bit of adrenaline. And so what's happening is people's receptor sites are getting really dulled.
Sure.
And they're chronically distracted. And I'm talking to myself as well. It's like, it's a collective thing.
Yeah, I'm hearing
So it's like, to interrupt that.
Discipline. But today, it's interesting because today is Navaratri, as you know, and it's here. We're on the second day. You guys are super advanced in the future over there. But today is the day of Uma, Brahmacharini. And part of her work is to teach us about tapas, to teach us about discipline, self-discipline. So if anyone, who cares when you're listening to this now or later, but use this moment as a starting point and give yourself a container, 10 days, 5 days, 30 days, 40 days, whatever it is, and just see if you can kind of, this is how I have to work, is how can I prove it to myself? Can I prove, one of the best things I've done for myself is I put the phone out of my room now.
Yeah.
That's my best new gift, because my God, it's too seductive to be like, well, who called and what do I need to do? And, but to do my meditation before the phone even comes on, to have a moment just to connect with myself, before I enter into the day. I mean, this is not rocket science. People have been talking about this for decades, but for some reason, it's in my field of awareness right now because it's gotten intense. Mm-hmm. And I know when things get intense that I have a lot of tools to fall back into. I'm so grateful for the tons of yoga teachers that have come into my life, and for my own disciplined practice. And it's so important to be disciplined with yourself because we do have choice. We do have will. And if we get our will into alignment with our soul, then it's magic, because that's when it's the breath of the soul meets the body. And that's quite extraordinary. When both are in alignment, then you really get to see what living is about. Then you really get to experience these levels of freedom, of moksha, this liberation, and I keep saying to myself every time I'm triggered, I'm like, I'm here to be free. So I'm going to look at myself. I want to be free. I don't want to carry a burden or a grudge or an addiction. I want to experiment and play and see if I can release myself from these things. So yeah, for sure, I'm throwing the phone out of the room. And then I get up in the morning and see what happens after I take care of myself and my needs and say thank you to all of my unseen friends that watch me at nighttime. And it's such a sweet way to live,
So beautiful. And just to add on to that note of tapas and discipline, the metaphor I like to draw upon when I'm getting triggered or I'm facing an addictive cycle is that of being with the poison, the hala hala, and utilizing the tapas and the loving attention, even if it's not loving attention, just attention at first, attention, and gradually that poison becomes nectar. But the initial...
Tantrika you are.
Yeah, that Amrita. And the initial process is fucking uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. And that's what's not often talked about. It's not just from poison to nectar. It's like, it's work, and at first the poison gets inflamed and you get an inflammation type response. That could be a literal thing or more of just a metaphor of like, it's getting fucking hot in here. And then... again, whatever the practice is, breathing through it. Breath work is so powerful, and it's beautiful that is becoming popularized in all kinds of different formats, just breath work. It doesn't have to be so complicated. Just learn to breathe properly, or chanting, or whatever it may be, to convert and churn that poison into nectar. That metaphor really helps me to appreciate the trigger, appreciate the poison, appreciate the discomfort, rather than just like, this is shit, let's turn it into nectar. Like, look at it kind of as fuel for the fire, or grist for the mill, whatever way we want to look at it. And then truly, like authentically, there can be this kind of endurance, this kind of spiritual endurance to churn it up and look at it a bit more karmically rather than personally.
And what I really love about what you're sharing, and it feels to me that, every problem, let's call it generally, has embedded in it a solution. So every bit of negativity has embedded in it the gift. Every challenge has some sort of an opportunity for us to learn. It's important not to go directly to the opportunity or to the Amrita, like you're saying, not just go quickly to the nectar, because that's such a bypass, but to really utilize the will and build confidence within yourself. Like, wow, I can do this. I got this. If it's in you, you've got this. Nothing that you're given doesn't come with an automatic solution, and you can handle all of it, no matter how heavy or difficult it seems. You're that strong. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, the discipline to endure it, because we do have so many things to either Band-Aid the situation, speaking of pills before, I mean, there's huge pill problems and opioid issues and all of that. And they have a time and a place, these certain drugs can be used skillfully, but as we keep seeing, there's huge issues with it. And it is very tempting to reach for these Band-Aid solutions to get us out of our body, give us a little bit of relief. And again, there's a time and a place. They can be used skillfully. They're medicines. But often, just when that churning is happening,
you got to really push through. You're like, all right, I got this. For me, don't you feel that the discipline, because the root word obviously is disciple. And so when I shifted my consciousness around discipline from being this militaristic, very regimented, very controlling thing, which I was very against, even to tell myself some things to do. But when I shifted that to devotion, I mean, we are moving in acts of devotion all day long. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're devoted to our negative thoughts. Sometimes we're devoted to the drama. Sometimes when we have some space, we're devoted to the divine or the nectar. And if I keep my eyes there, then it helps me with that discipline. Mm-hmm. That for sure, this is the only reason I can do these 40-day practices, because I know I'm going to receive something so beautiful from this practice, because I'm offering myself all the time, my challenges, my suffering, I'm giving it. Like, you take it. I don't know what to do with this anymore. Yeah. Like, this one's for you. Thank you very much. But I just feel like that was such a shift for me when I moved into a softer place. And sometimes I need that regimented thing, but I want to go about life in a soft way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, when I started reframing it as loving discipline, that really helped me, because I've never really had an issue with discipline. I've always been quite disciplined, but I could see that the type of discipline I was used to tapping into was more of that overly unconscious, masculine, militant, and I kept burning out. It was discipline, but it wasn't balanced. So when I did begin to reframe it as loving discipline or devotion, like you're speaking of, radically it shifted and just tuned up the discipline into more of a loving, compassionate, receptive space, for sure.
Yeah. I feel that the energy can move more when there's that level of compassion and love, not in the romantic term, but actually love that holds the fabric of all of us. And then the energy has the chance to move in the body or in the head or in the whatever ways.
Honeybee, this has been so beautiful. We'll begin to wrap it up. But is there anything else you want to let the listeners know or the watchers know? Anything coming up or whatever?
Make sure you do your hip circles. Be super gentle with yourself. Coming up, I'm going back to Jordan in a few weeks. I'm really looking forward to that. And then taking a group to India in early December. We're going to do a Panchakarma cleanse, which is really exciting. And it's spiritual pilgrimage inside out. So I'm really excited. I'm actually going to be partnering up with Madhavji.
Oh, great.
Who introduced me to. Totally excited about that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, this beautiful soul that you guys brought into my life. I'm just grateful. So he's a wealth of information, and I'm just looking forward to that. And then next year, let's see what comes. Be gentle, move slowly, give yourself space to move through whatever it is that you're going through. Reach out for support to those who you know can support you. Do your inner work. It seems like it's my daily reminders for people. So I'm so grateful to see you, my love.
Yeah, likewise, Honeybee. Really beautiful to connect, and I really enjoyed that.
Same. Please give Joe and the girls all my love, and I hope I get to see you all soon, maybe Aloha style.
We'll be in LA in November. You going to be around?
I'm going to be in Jordan, I imagine.
Okay. Soon to be.
each other through the air.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Honeybee. Much love.
Much love.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.